So I want to speak to what forgiveness looks like. And what I want to do here is use just a simple, practical example. And we could complicate this example with all kinds of questions. And let's not do that. Let's just leave it overly simplistic, okay, for the purpose of trying to illustrate what forgiveness looks like. A husband comes home from work and he's tired and frustrated and dinner isn't ready when he wants it, and when it is ready, he doesn't like it. And in anger, he says some really harsh things to his wife. You know, they probably start with words like, you never, or you always, or I can't believe, or it drives me crazy when. And after he has unleashed his verbal tirade, he stomps out of the house and goes to get himself dinner. While he's gone, his wife takes those hurts to the Lord. She tells God that she's going to entrust those things to him. He's the judge, not her. And she's not going to try to pay her husband back for those things. She knows that God commands her to forgive because God has forgiven her. She prays and asks for God to help her. And when her husband comes home, she tells him that she forgives him. What does that mean? It means something like, she says to him, it was wrong for you to say those things, and it really hurt, but I love you and I forgive you. And maybe at the same time, she pictures forgiveness with a hug. What does she mean by those words and that hug? She means that though he has done wrong and she could hold it against him, she's not going to. She could make him pay that back in one way or another. She could give him the cold shoulder. She could withhold their sexual relationship. She could keep reminding him about how he blew it, whatever. But instead, by her words and by her hug, she communicates, I'm going to release you from what you did wrong. I'm going to bear the wrong myself so that we can move forward in love. Okay? Now, is that overly simplistic? Maybe. But consider how it illustrates the basics. Her forgiveness is an expression of love for him, and she tells him that. It's not just a duty. She doesn't just mutter, I forgive you, through gritted teeth. She says, I love you and I forgive you. She releases him from the debt he owes, not to God, but she's not going to hold it against him. She entrusts vengeance to God instead of demanding it herself. She could force him to make it up to her, but she doesn't. Okay? So she's mercifully unfair. Because you could say that he deserves consequences. She bears the wrong instead of making him pay it back. And she forgave because God forgave her. She knew it was not optional. And she sought God's help, his empowering to forgive. And she knows that it's something relational. It's not just a duty for her. It's part of strengthening and blessing her marriage. And she probably knows it's going to be a process. She still hurts over what happened, and not holding it against him is going to be hard. But she's prayed and she's asked for God's help to live in forgiveness. Okay? Now I know we can complicate that with all kinds of questions, like did he ask for her forgiveness? That's a great one that we'll talk about later. But at its basic, I think that really is forgiveness. I'm not going to take vengeance on you. God can deal with you if he wishes to. I love you and I forgive you. And I'm going to continue in love instead of making you pay for this. I think that's what forgiveness is. All right? What do you think?
Well, she would have to do that regardless of if he asked for forgiveness himself anyway. Because like you said, it's reconciliation might not happen. So she should do all that you just said, regardless of what he says in return, right?
Well, I agree with you. Not everyone would agree with you, but I agree with you. And we'll try to talk about the nuance of that later.
Because I feel like with my children, that's what they need to do. They need to do that, regardless of if the other sibling comes back and
That's right.
accepts that.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right? Eric.
When you gave the illustration of the burden, or to go back up to the previous page, forgiveness is a commitment to bear the wrong on ourselves, and you illustrated the burden or something coming on you that you keep. There's just that internal, for me, visualization, picturing that burden coming and all that hurt and all that evil and hanging on to that or holding on to it, it just cries impossible. I can't hold that. You know, it feels like I'm taking on the pilgrim's burden of sin, and it's going to drown me and sink me lower than the grave, to use Bunyan's terminology. And so, as a Christian, you just immediately, a human being says, well, what do I do with that then? And so their option is to tell somebody else to give it back to them. They have to. You have to do something with that. You can't carry that burden. The weight is too heavy. So you will do something with it. And that's where the beauty of grace and as a Christian's relationship with the Lord is to run to him with that. Or since you can't move because it's so heavy, you give it to him and say, please take it here. You hold this.
Yeah.
And so it's such a privilege to have the Lord, to have Jesus who can bear that burden, because otherwise it would sink us. Or we
Right.
would give it back because we can't do nothing with that.
Right. I think when we say, I'm going to bear it, you know, I think it's important to understand that you already are bearing it. You're not taking upon yourself anything new. You already are. They already did wrong to you. And see, there's a lie here. The lie is that I retaliate. If I retaliate, I get rid of it. And that's a lie. If I retaliate, I still have it. I still have the hurt of the wrong you did to me. I just added a whole bunch more. I just really, really damaged the relationship and added my own guilt and big mess. So it's, you already have the wrong. When you say, I'm going to bear it myself, what you're saying is, I'm not going to believe the lie that pushing the wrong back at you through retaliation would get rid of it. It wouldn't. It wouldn't. We have to be close to Jesus, and he can strengthen us for handling the hurt. But handling the hurt while being vengeful is a terrible thing. Handling the hurt while being loving is really a place of freedom, you know.